Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your brother Alkam Mayanja, as always, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Alhidaaya show, and we are continuing from miracles of the human body. And today, inshallah, we're going to be covering the blood. But before that, I'll let you know that today is 26th Muharram, the year of 1447, that is after Hijrah, and 21st July 2025. Welcome you from the last week, and here with me is our usual guest, Mr. Sekalema Muhammad, our mentor and a scientist as always, lecturer at IU. So he's going to be taking us through the miracles of the human body, and more specifically the blood. You're most welcome, my mentor.
Our dear viewers, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us life and an opportunity to be here to share wisdom and to increase our iman. The essence of all this discussion is simply to get a closer understanding of Allah's creation so that we can get closer to Him as a way of attaining piety and attaining Jannah as a final abode for us.
May Allah accept from us all.
Allahumma ameen.
Thank you. Before we go further, I think we're going to have a few facts of this organ, the blood. We have seen a lot of organs. We saw the human ear, we saw the nose. So today we are looking at blood. Some facts that can lead someone to contemplate that really this is a miracle of the human body.
Blood is a very critical part of human life.
I understand.
So once there is a problem with the blood, you can no longer live your life as a human being. That's why you see when they are checking for life, they essentially check for heartbeat. Because for as long as there is heartbeat, we are sure that there is blood moving around. So we can be confident that at least the person is alive. But once the heart stops, we are very sure there is no way that person can be alive. The reason simply being that this fluid is the one that keeps the body working and moving perfectly as a part of creation. Now, this blood contains a number of things. It is essentially a liquid. But within that liquid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put things that are actually alive. So although we have liquids like water and all the others, petrol and etc., those liquids are not essentially alive. We can even say they are dead if you want. They don't contain necessarily living elements. But this blood, for it has within its constituents things that are actually alive, and they are part of it. They form a part of what we call blood as a fluid.
I understand. I've even ever heard of the fact that this blood is 90% water. How true is this?
Yes, the biggest part is essentially water, but the water is simply to carry the materials around. That's what allows all these constituents to move around. But essentially, the water is there, but we have all these other constituencies that we are going to be looking at. Number one, you have what we call the red blood cells.
The red blood cells in our blood.
Now, those red blood cells are very critical. They are actually the ones that give blood that color, because they carry the oxygen around within your body. So those are specialized cells, and like we said, these are not dead elements. These are elements that are alive. And in our picture here, you can even be able to see a schematic. The red blood cells look more like a donut. You know what the donut is?
Unlike the one of 500.
They do not have a hole in the middle, but the shape you can see it resembles.
You can say disc, a flash disc.
Some kind of disc. So you have red blood cells. They are very critical. They are the ones that even give us that red coloring that we see within the blood. Then we have the white blood cells. Now, those white blood cells are critical for defense. Essentially, within our bodies, there are things that are not healthy for us to have, things like bacteria and even viruses and other things that distort the normal bodily function. So those ones now need to be killed and blown out of the body. So the white blood cells perform that role, and that's why for people that have HIV, what the HIV does is that it simply attacks and it degrades your white blood cells.
Specifically the ones that are called the CD4 cells. We always hear the doctors say your CD4 cells are down.
So once your defense cells have been attacked by this HIV, you now become essentially an unprotected territory. And that's how people become sick with every other small ailment that can attack the human body. The reason simply being that the virus has simply demobilized all the soldiers. It's like coming here in Uganda and you disarm the entire UPDF. Even if you just stop there and go away, the rest will be whoever wants to attack simply comes and attacks. So the white blood cells are also very important. Then you have of course the water, which forms a very big part of it. Then you also have some other elements. We may not go into very many of them, like the platelets. You see, when a person has an injury, anywhere on the body,
you see blood does not ooze continuously.
You realize
it clots down.
You realize that the blood oozes out for some time, but it later stops, and you can see that it no longer flows. So that action of stopping blood from flowing out is done by
the platelets.
They simply come and cover that part where there is an injury and the blood stops moving around. Of course, there are also people, possibly we shall see some abnormalities within our blood structures, and we shall be able to appreciate that you who is moving around and you have your blood system working very well, you do have a ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Brother Sekalema, about the red blood cells, we've heard that there are these people, this one has blood group A, and we've been told about things like antigen, that I have special antigens on my red blood cells that make me different from Alcam, different from Sekalema. In so doing, how does this work out as we appreciate the miracles of the human body, and more specifically blood? Because these red blood cells, we've agreed that they are found specifically in our blood.
Exactly. Now you realize that the human beings do have actually, interestingly, very many blood types. The common ones that we are used to are the ABO combination. Either you have A, or you have B, or you have AB, or you have O. Those are the common ones.
Yes.
But there are also others.
Oh, there are other systems of grading our blood
but because they are not very common, they don't feature very much in normal discourse about blood. Otherwise, there are very many types. But those four are the main ones. And interestingly, they do determine how the body functions. There are people with blood groups that are very immune from attack by infections, but possibly they do have weaknesses in other areas, and etc. We may not go into a very detailed discussion about what blood group works where, but the bottom line is you have essentially four core groups. You have A,
B.
There are also pluses and minuses. We may not go heavy into that. We have B, then you have those with the AB, then you also have O. In terms of how blood is moved from one person to another, which we refer to as donation, because you know that human beings have never been able to create that material blood.
Yes.
Because like we said, it is a living thing. It has a living elements within it. So you cannot synthesize this like the way we create artificial, all these other things that we create. You cannot.
Meaning, the moment I lose my blood, I should just go to my friend elsewhere and then they transfuse.
So you cannot be able to artificially create blood. We have not reached that level. So the only way you can have human blood is by getting it from another human being.
Through blood transfusion.
Through blood transfusion. And because of differences in blood groups, the blood does not always match. And that's why they have to check your blood type and ensure that it is compatible with another person before a transfusion.
Meaning that is where we get towards like this is a universal donor, blood group O can give to someone who is blood group A, blood group AB, AC. But then they tell you that this one who is AB cannot give to A. This is all where it originates from.
So the two very good groups in that case are the universal donors. Those ones are O. For them, anyone gets from them. But the problem is they can only get from a fellow O. So everything has an advantage and a bit of a disadvantage.
When someone who has, for our dear viewers, for someone who has blood group O,
yes,
when he gets an accident and he needs more blood to fulfill the other 5 liters that everyone is supposed to have,
he must
get from only O. That is the disadvantage with him.
So he cannot easily get from others. Although for him, he can give any other person. You don't need to check the blood group of the destination person for as long as the donor is O. Then the AB one is the one with the best advantage. For him, he can receive from anyone. So they
can get from A, he can get from B,
and they can also get from
AB, and then from O.
So you are safest in case you have AB, because for you can receive, although of course you have limitations. So a few facts about our blood. One, usually the human being has around 5 liters of blood within your body, and those 5 liters are the ones that guarantee proper function of your body. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has regulated it. The blood usually does not go too much higher than that, neither does it drop unless you have a problem. Otherwise, the 5 liters remain. And you can see that it's a very large amount of fluid within your body, and that's why we need to always hydrate. Take water to keep this system moving, because that blood there is the critical thing that determines whether you are going to be alive or not. Then the other interesting fact is that Allah has made it in such a way that our body is composed of between 7 to 8% blood, meaning the blood forms, it does not form a very big part of your body. So meaning if you have like 70 kilograms, then you'll have those 5 liters of blood. So you have around 7 to 8% of your body weight determined by that blood.
So meaning this can fluctuate, the 5 liters, someone who is 70 kgs, there's someone who is 65.
So it can fluctuate. Then the other fact is that the red cells, remember we said these red cells are very critical. They are the ones that carry oxygen around, and they are very critical for us as blood elements. So they live for only 120 days. 120 days is essentially
approximately 4 months.
4 months, approximately 4 months.
So meaning now when these old ones get to die, and they are replaced with others.
Exactly. So once they die, they no longer serve any purpose within your blood system. So the liver removes them out of the blood system and ejects them. So you can see that Allah has designed it in such a way that although these cells keep dying, there's a very efficient mechanism that filters them out, because blood it must be as pure as possible. Any impurities within your blood will cause a lot of problems. It cannot flow into your cells. So that is a very important aspect. 120 days,
you replace them.
The spleen and the liver, they put out whatever is there, you have a new set.
MashaAllah.
Your bone marrows, within your bones, there is that middle part that we call the bone marrow.
Simply in English, which I can call the whole.
Now, that bone marrow is very interesting. It produces 200 billion new cells every day. Allah, just imagine that.
Akbar Kabir. 200 billion new cells.
New cells.
Every day, 24 hours.
New red blood cells. 200 billion. Just 24 hours.
Meaning given this loss where we said that after 120 days the previous ones die, does not affect me.
It does not really affect because of the extremely large number of cells that are produced. Every day 200 billion of these cells are produced.
Wallahi, this is a miracle.
And if you divide into the per second, it is 2 million for every second.
Allah.
So you can see how efficient Allah has designed this system that keeps our blood moving. So 200 billion of these cells are needed to be produced every day in order for your body to function properly, because once you have any deficiency in there, then you get a bit of a problem. And usually when you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making very large production, you know that these cells are also damaged a lot. So an excess is needed, just like the way you see fish and other creatures that tend to have very high chances
the
of...
moment that you can cut yourself as you're peeling matoke, you're walking. Right now we don't have our brother, the brother Sakalala Muhammad that I'm standing in for, he has the cut, meaning he lost some blood. But due to this excess of the 200 billion that are always made every day, so Allah helps him and then he's rejuvenating.
It is very simple to return. So very large number of red cells are produced on a daily basis. Then blood travels actually very slowly within your body. They are saying it travels between 5 to 6 kilometers per hour within your body, within your arteries. It is fairly slow.
It's slow. It's as if someone is walking. You can imagine someone who is walking.
So it does not really move very fast. And possibly the reason simply being that there is a nourishment element. It is not just fluid moving around in your body. It has to supply oxygen and other materials to our cells to keep them alive. So it cannot therefore just rush through your body the way you'd think it should be. So it travels around 5 to 6 kilometers per hour, slow speed, like the way a person does when they are walking.
I think we can accept and appreciate this a moment when you cut yourself or when you pierce yourself. You can see the speed at which this blood oozes out. It's gentle, actually, indeed.
So it does, although sometimes it gushes. For example, if you are cutting some big
a major blood vessel,
it tends to gush out a bit, but just the way you see water gushing out of a pipe. The reason simply being that the exit hole is very small, so the pressure forces it to come out at a very fast speed. So it's not necessarily that the water is at that speed even within the pipe, as it were. Then your heart, very important part. Possibly next week we shall be looking at the heart, because here we are looking at blood as a material, very critical material. Allah has put it in your body. Human beings have never been able to create anything that can replace blood. They have synthesized so many things into plastic, into all kinds of material, but blood, because it is something alive, it has cells, it has all these things, we have simply never been able to create it. So your heart that you hear pumping all the time, it pumps out 7,500 liters of blood daily.
Allah Akbar Kabila.
You imagine.
From my head to my toe down.
So as the day progresses, a total of 7,500 liters are going to be pumped across your body by that heart.
You cannot imagine this.
And they are saying, by comparison, this is enough to fill 40 bathtubs. A bathtub is that thing that you see in your...
It is the modern
in your modern bathroom, that large. So imagine that capacity. And remember that the heart, we have said, once it simply stops pumping, you are dead.
No more.
So it means it has to keep pumping at this rate continuously from the time you are born up to the time you will die.
Allah Akbar.
So it is something that we should really wonder about. Inshallah, we shall look more into the details of how Allah has designed this heart so that it keeps pumping. Our body cannot survive even for a few minutes without blood moving within it, and therefore the heart is very critical. But you can see the kind of load it has daily. 7,500 liters have to move through it in order to keep the body functioning very properly. Now, then finally, I think before we go for our break, we do have various blood cells, blood vessels, because blood is essentially a liquid. For it to move around in your body,
just the way
it
the
is
National Transport Corporation has a network of pipes in Kampala. So these are the blood cells replacing now our pipes in water.
Exactly. So for your body to work properly, you need blood vessels, those tubes that are there. So you do have various kinds. You do have what we call arteries, Then you do have what we call veins. Then you do also have what we call capillaries.
I think this is our Alhidaaya show, as always, Monday, 3 to 4 p.m. We are looking at the miracles of the human body, specifically the blood, and we've looked at now the arteries, veins, and capillaries as our blood vessels, or the pipes that carry our blood throughout our body. You can watch through AfroMobile, Go TV, StarTimes. You can stream live. Don't miss. As we go for this short break, we're going to meet next after a short break. Thank you very much.
Eno ye Salam TV.
Don't miss out on being part of the ultimate game changer. Omumanyiwa Salam TV is expanding nationwide, bringing life-changing prizes to all Ugandans. Everyone can win, including cars, Haji and Umrah pilgrimages, land titles, hard cash, home furniture, TV sets, and many others. Partner with us in this noble cause and let's transform lives together. Don't miss out. Call or WhatsApp 0776 988 064 or 0702 988 064 for more information. Get ready to win from June 10th, 2025 to February 14th, 2026.
A new era has arrived, and it starts with a simple download. Get the new and improved My DSTV app and get used to more control with streamlined payments, easy error clearing, live chat assistance, and more, all in one app. This is the My DSTV experience, reimagined and upgraded to a whole new level. Download the new My DSTV app from your app store.
I'm one of the scientists now doing research on plastic technology recycling, where we can be able to produce other products from plastic waste. For example, we are trying to develop a plastic tile with sand plastic tile, that it is unbreakable, it can be shifted from one roof to another. So this is a project we are working on. It's our initiative as Kazire Group of trying to reduce waste from the environment. Brothers and sisters, Taso Butonde for a better Uganda.
This message is brought to you by National Environment Management Authority, Kampala Capital City Authority, Vivo Energy, Airco, Pepsi, Stanbic Bank, and NBS TV. Better steady, be better.
Sometimes I've been affected by those who send me money, by those who tell me send money on this number. If you don't send, we are going to switch you off. Recently, there is a man who keeps calling me from West Nile. He keeps sending money on my number, and thereafter he says, you send back my money. Yet when you are sending money, the name of the person you are sending it to, this guy, I hope he's watching. This is like the fourth time. I have sent my money on your number by accident. Please, can you send it back? He said, is this security? So you need to be very careful, follow the process, and then master them. Let them not be in a hurry, and then be extra careful. Better steady, be better.
In partnership with Uganda Communications Commission and NBS.
Okulinyisa omutindo gwa AfroMobile. Eno yengeri joyinza okuzza obujja omutindo gwa AfroMobile yo. Funa app ya AfroMobile okuva ku mukutu gwa Google Store oba App Store oba ku mutimbagano gwa www.afromobile.com. Londako forgotten password. Tekamu account yo eya AfroMobile oze bujja pin code yo. Ojja kufuna obubaka ku email yo okuli ne code empya. Bw'oteekamu code eyo olwo pin yo empya ekkirizibwe. AfroMobile, emboozi za Africa ezannamaddala.
Eno ye Salam TV.
Our dear viewers of Salam TV, you can watch us live, Go TV, StarTimes, and AfroMobile. We appreciate you for giving us your time always. We are here back, the Alhidaaya show, 3 p.m. up to 4 p.m. every Monday. I am your brother, Alka Mayanja, sitting in for Muhammad Sekalala. As always, our guest, Brother Hamza Sekalema, a scientist, a lecturer at Islamic University in Uganda, as we take you through this. We'll be back from that brief break, and now we continue. We stopped at the arteries, capillaries, and then veins as the channels that transport our blood throughout our body. My mentor, you're welcome.
Now, so we were looking at these blood cells, and we are saying that these blood cells are essentially not blood vessels. The blood vessels are essentially the tubes that allow that blood to move around. And we saw that you do have veins, you do have arteries, and you have capillaries. But the capillaries are the last mile blood vessels. They are very small. They are so small that the red blood cells move through them one by one. They are calling it single file, like the way you see soldiers moving on the road. They tend to create a single line as they move. So imagine how small they are, the capillaries.
I understand.
Not two red cells can clamp one another like this. So they have to move single file one by one as they move through these capillaries. And that is possibly why you see that people that have sickle cell, they get all these very painful attacks, because what happens, the abnormal shape of their red blood cells causes those cells not to move very efficiently within the capillaries, especially if the person has hydration issues. The amount of water in the body is not enough. So they end up now clogging within the capillaries. Just imagine getting blockage in such a tiny tube.
That is what I was going to ask you about when you said they move in a line. So I was looking at someone who now has abnormal red blood cells. What is going to happen if now they clog? So this is causing the pain.
So should there be any clogging, you find this extremely terrible pain that the person undergoes. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us always in the correct form of functionality, because a small change in the way our body has been designed causes either death or a person will have a lot of pain. The other interesting fact, the average adult has about 25 trillion red blood cells at a given time. I think it matches with the other production rate that we saw. Within a single day, you have 200 billion being produced. But at a given time, for your body to work very properly and ensure that it is moving fine, you need up to 25 trillion cells. The red blood cells alone moving around within your body. And remember, these cells are not just things that are not alive. They are actually living elements, but Allah has created them very small, and they can live in such large numbers within your body. Then blood, interestingly, contains some gold.
Allah Akbar Kabila. The gold that we hear being mined.
So your body contains very tiny amount of gold, but it is there. So they are saying you have up to 0.2 milligrams of gold dissolved within your body. Of course, you'll need to kill very many human beings if you are going to mine gold using that method of getting it from human blood. But principally, that is another very interesting fact. The blood types, we saw some 4 of them, but they are saying we do have up to 38 different ones. So the common ones that we find, and possibly for purposes of avoiding confusing people with a lot of medical details, but they are up to 38 different ones. As time goes by, they keep discovering differences, and they give them totally new names. And for each of our blood groups, there is the factor that has a plus or a minus.
Yes, that was going to be my next question for our viewer. So I hear they always tell me your blood group is O+, then the other one is A-. Then I wonder what's happening.
So usually we keep our show very simple to avoid going into a lot of medical details. We want everyone to be able to understand, but simply be aware that there is a certain factor within the blood where the person is either positive they call it rhesus factor, either positive or minus, and it also determines how your blood ultimately goes. And we were talking a bit about the issue of transfusion. Now, when a person receives blood from another, that has created it in such a way that if your blood is not matching with the other person's blood, immediately the blood takes on a battle.
First, wait, my mentor. You mean, Mr. Sekalima, if I get an accident right now, they rush me to Mulago, I need blood, but they give me a different category that I want from the one I wanted, I can die from agglutination.
So good thing the medics know it very well so they don't make that mistake. Otherwise, imagine you are both human beings, possibly you are even both Africans, you are Ugandans.
You can even be twins.
You can even be twins. Visually, your blood appears to be the same. It's all red, but within it, there are differences that have been classified, the ABC or whatever. We are saying there are even 38 types.
Yes.
And those ones, once you give, for example, an O person a blood, the blood immediately does what they call agglutination. It's essentially it forms like clots, and immediately you simply can't function. Remember, we said that your blood, when it's moving within the capillaries, it moves, the cells move single file. So the blood must be functioning properly to even go through those capillaries.
True.
So should you therefore have a problem that your blood is clotting around and creating large clusters, there's no way it can move around in your capillaries, and you'll definitely have to die. So there are people that are called, they call it golden blood. That's the status.
Golden blood. Who are those lucky ones?
So the golden blood people are the ones who don't have the plus or minus.
Allah.
So for all of us, you are either plus and you are minus. For me, I'm A plus.
Me, I am O negative.
So it's universal donor. So for me, I can only receive from A or O.
Your AB? You said your AB.
No, I'm A plus.
MashaAllah.
So there are some people that don't have that plus or minus. And I understand globally only 40 people have been found not to have that rhesus factor. So they are claimed to be having golden blood because of that abnormality. So we are now going to be looking a bit at abnormalities within our blood, because here we are discussing how your blood behaves in its normal function. So you may not actually appreciate the miracle that we are talking about in case you don't see abnormality. What if the blood now takes on an abnormal behavior? We've already talked about the issue of sickle cell. Now with the sickle cell, the problem is simply that the shape of your red blood cells changes. The correct shape is supposed to be that donut shape. But now if you have that anomaly, and unfortunately it is largely characteristic of us, the black race. Africans. So I don't know that there are any sicklers within the Aryan community, the ones that are in Europe and the US. But it is most common among us, the black people.
Oh.
So you have an abnormal shape of the red blood cell. Instead of being that donut, it forms a semicircular shape. Remember, we said this thing has to go through your capillaries.
Can I use an example of this young moon, the crescent, something like that?
So you see that semicircle shape there. We expect it to be flat, donut, but flat. But now if I bend it a little, it affects the amount of oxygen that cell can be able to carry.
Allah.
And that's why sicklers tend to be weak and to be sickly. Just the reason simply being that the body is not functioning optimally. The jerry cans that are supposed to be carrying oxygen are essentially having an awkward shape. So instead of carrying maybe 20 liters, they are carrying 10, 15 liters.
I understand.
Yet the body is designed to function with a certain number of cells, because you would think that possibly if these cells are distorted, we would simply have more of them and we compensate.
Yes.
Just in case you have a jerrycan that is 10 liter and there's a 21, you simply have 2 10 liters and you compensate. But the cells remain the same in number, but these ones are unable to move enough oxygen. So there's a lot of potential for sickness and etc. So that is a very big abnormality that can attack you. And the good thing here in Uganda nowadays, for people that are doing marriage related blood tests, nowadays people also add the sickle cell test, because many of us are carriers. Actually, even myself, I'm a carrier of a sickle cell. So meaning you are not supposed to be engaged with another carrier. The moment the two of you are carriers, you now stand a very high chance of producing now full blast sickle cell. And if you've ever visited the wards where these children are, Allah, you cannot be so unfair to a child by not minding about that particular test, to ensure that at least one of you should be free of it, so that you don't burden the child with permanent sickness. The person is already sick, and very many of them do die before they get to maturity. So that is one anomaly, and we pray to Allah to protect us from these anomalies, because nearly all of them are essentially fatal. So the anomalies here will be grouped by the constituents of blood. First one is the red blood cell. We've already seen sickle cell. Then there is also what we call anemia. Now we've seen that you need up to 25 trillion of these red blood cells in order to function properly.
Yes.
Now what happens is with the anemia, you end up with less of these cells.
You don't have, I don't have now the excess. I'm just in deficit.
So now they are less, meaning possibly instead of the 25 trillion you're having maybe 20, a whole 5 trillion is off. The body is not going to be functioning normally, and it can arise out of iron deficiency. So usually they simply pump you with the iron related material so that it boosts the blood, or in some cases there is a failure to absorb certain hormones. We don't usually want to go into a lot of medical detail. We want our viewer to simply appreciate the anomaly without necessarily having to require a lot of medical knowledge. Then of course the last one is the sickle cell anemia. All those are the different abnormalities that come particularly on that constituent of red blood cells. There are also now problems with the white ones.
The white blood
Remember,
cells.
the red ones are very critical in distributing life, but you need a defense. So in that case, you now have issues that are related with the white ones. Now, when you have very low numbers of white blood cells,
you call them our fighters. You say these are the components of blood that fight for us.
Exactly.
I got some flu, but I don't even take medicine. I cure there and then.
So it's because your body has a natural defense. Actually, in some countries, they tend not to go into too much of pharmaceuticals in order to deal with diseases. Because, because for them they believe that this body in its natural form is already able to defend itself. So you'll find people like in the Chinese, or sometimes also the Pakistanis do have that homeopathy, where they simply put the body back to its natural state so that it does the combat by itself. Because they worry that once you begin to use too much of poison in order to protect the body, you are also damaging the body. But that one is something that we do here in Uganda. We tend to use a lot of our pharmaceutical products. But we are saying, once you have extremely low defense count, it is like having a whole army like UPDF and it has 1,000 soldiers. However good they may be, the number is too small to cover the country. So in that case, you now have a problem. There is a condition that they call leukopenia, where you have low WBC count. So in that case, once you have low white blood cell count, you now become open to attack. Because remember, everywhere you are moving, there are disease agents that are living with you.
Yes.
But the only issue is you have white blood cells that keep fighting and defending you, so you don't get sick. You eat some things that are not very hygienic and etc. But you still don't get sick. The reason simply being that
the
you
chikomando
have a
we
defense.
eat. The
Because
chapati man uses the same towel today, tomorrow.
Yes. So if you just went and did the scans around those areas where we pick our food, you would not eat again. But your body is designed to have a defense. So should you have too low of those defenses, you now become open to infections, so everything gets into a problem. Then you can also have the opposite. You need a certain number of soldiers, you are having excess. That one is called leukocytosis. Now leukocytosis, you have too many soldiers. And remember that soldiers are essentially designed to fight. So once there are too many, they begin to again attack possibly themselves or even your
body,
own
which
body.
they have to protect.
So you end up with the infection. Or you end up with the cancer. And that's why nowadays they do that. I think the medics will call it CBC. You count the cells in the blood first. So once you have a count, you can be able to see, these ones are again too many, these ones are too few, and you can be able to determine what to do next. So either you'll have very few soldiers, which we'll call leukopenia. I think these are just Latin words that mean many soldiers or few. so sometimes we struggle with these words, yet they are simply Latin words that can even be translated into English or even your own language. Then you do have cancers that are within the blood. Remember that we do have other cancers like breast, etc., lung. But now the blood itself can have cancers. One of them is called leukemia. Now with leukemia, you get a problem that red blood cells become very many within your bone marrow. Remember, the marrow is producing really very large numbers. Yes. We saw that within a day it is producing 200 billion. But now it can produce an excess and a crowd, causing that anomaly, and in the end you have a very big problem. So you can see that Allah has created these things in a measured form. He does not just drop things there without measurement. Too few, you get a problem. Too many, you get a problem. So there is always an optimal number that Allah has designed, and it forms a part of what defines your life. Then there are what we call lymphoma. These are Latin words. Now lymphoma is where you have cancerous lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are also part of the blood. And the cancer, I think they simply talk of cells that are growing abnormally. So that's why you'll find it within the breast. Once the breast cells begin to grow abnormally, we say breast cancer. If they're in the lungs, lung cancer. If they're in the blood, blood cancer. Because blood also has its own specialized cells. So those are some of the problems that you have if your blood is constituted abnormally. Either you have too many white blood cells or you have too few. All of these can result into very big problems for you. So meaning, even when we do have our blood as a miracle from Allah, even regulating it and ensuring that you have the optimal amount, you have the optimal numbers of each of these constituencies is something that remains a miracle of sustenance. And that's why we always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about sustenance, rizq, and keeping us alive. It is all part of His divine control mechanism. So it is not that He puts you in the world and the rest is automatic. No, He keeps maintaining you. Any small change and you'll be able to get a bit of a problem.
Thank you very much, my mentor, my brother Hamza Sekalima, for this wonderful recap program, research, everything. It indeed everything. We've walked away all from the doctorship, the science, the deep science, and our dear viewers can now appreciate what really blood is, and indeed blood is a miracle from Allah. We have all appreciated from when we started at 3, we talked about the red blood cells. These are cells in the blood. They can live for 120 days. You have talked about 200 billion cells being produced every day in our bone marrows. We have talked about the abnormalities of our blood again. So we really appreciate for your time that you put into this research, and we pray that the Almighty Allah rewards you abundantly. I'm Alkam Mayanja, your host for today, standing in for my brother Muhammad Sekalala, who has not been able to turn up. My mentor, as we conclude this show, what is your take home that you can give to our beloved viewers of Salam TV?
Now, our viewers, one, we appreciate the time that you put in to listen to us, because this is a contemplative show, so you do really have to put mental muscle. It's not just entertainment per se. You have to put in some mental muscle.
You have to think, you have to have a pen somewhere.
And we do keep the show as simple as possible. We don't go into heavy medical stuff, because all we want is for every person to appreciate that you have a body, and within that body there are hundreds of miracles that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in. And that's why he tells us that wafi anfusikum afala tubsirun, that even if you look at yourself, you don't even need to look at animals, you don't need to look at the sky. Just simply look at yourself and see how your body works, and you'll be able to appreciate that this body cannot be here without any force that is keeping it alive, any force that brought it into existence. So as we go through these items one by one, your responsibility as one that is following us is to simply contemplate. And every time you put an effort to contemplation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide you to what is better. And it is important therefore that we know that even that blood, you see it as a simple liquid, but within it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put a lot of miracles, and it is what keeps you alive. Any problem with your blood and you'll have no way of staying alive. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep guiding us and to make us appreciate his creation and bring us closer to him as his worshippers. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, our dear brother Muhammad Hamza Sekalema. We pray that the Almighty Allah rewards you abundantly. To our dear viewers, this is Alkam Mayanja, your host for today. We thank you for always viewing this show, and also to have your brain at work, to have your pen right down to note. We can't appreciate you, but please don't miss this show. It's always there, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. every Monday. You can stream live, GoTV, Star Times, or even the Afro Mobile app for the campusers, the people who are the Gen Zs. You can download the Afro Mobile as you're driving, as you're into a taxi going home. You can be viewing us, the Alhidaaya show. To our sisters and brothers who are preparing for marriage, Shukran at 25, Mariam, I think the chair lady Mumsa, Hanan Kudiza, I think we can use this and go for the sickle cell or the blood compatibility and see. We cannot exceed from here. I remain Alkam Mayanja. We meet next Monday, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Eno ye Salam TV. Obuwanguzi obusinga mu nsi kwe kutuukiriza obweyamu. Salam TV eyuguumya amayengo buli lukya. Kolono esumuludde luwombo. Programu obulungamu. Luno luwombo anti ku Mande otegeera obulamu bw'abaswahaba bannabbi. Baawangaala batya ne Sheikh Tikirimpwa Yazid.
Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam yagamba nti nno bano basahaba bange tekisaanidde kubeera nti nno omuntu yenna ayogera ekigambo ekiyinza okubeera nti nno bakibeesittaze oba okubakkakanya oba okubeera nti nno kibatyoboola.
Ku lwokubiri, enneeyisa y'omusiraamu ddala erina kuba ya njawulo. Enneeyisa y'omusiraamu ne Sheikh Muhammad Kibaate.
Enneeyisa kyentegeeza mu kyo, enneeyisa yo n'ekintu gundi. Enneeyisa eteekeddwa okubeera ku kino n'ekintu gundi. Enneeyisa yo n'ekintu gundi. Bw'onooba kijjamu kyonna kijja okukola ekigambo mpisa.
Wulira bwe twambuka olwo ku lwokusatu okusonyiwagana. Osonyiwa otya anti kitukakatako ne munnabugerere Sheikh Swaleh Kigundu.
Waliwo ebintu bino bya mirundi esatu. Waliwo okusonyiwa, waliwo okusonyiwagana, wabaawo n'okwesonyiwa. Buli kimu kirina amakulu gaakyo, naye ekimu kiyinza ate okukutuusa ku kirala, ate ekirala kiyinza obutakutuusa ku kirala.
Twesoze olwokuna tugenderera kino kikulu nnyo okugaba emaali y'omufu mu Busiraamu. Obadde okimanyi y'obadde okikola otya? Kati kitegeere mu bujjuvu bwakyo okugaba emaali y'omufu mu Busiraamu ne Dr. Sowedi Mayanja.
Miraasi kitegeeza yengeri process yengeri emaali y'omufu gyegabizibwamu eri abasika be.
ddala twambuka tuyingira ejjuma olwokutaano olina kigendererwa ki? Ekigendererwa oba enniya ku olwo banguka ne Sheikh Rajabu Kakooza.
Enniya mu lulimi lwonna amagulu gaakyo mu lulimi al-qasdu, okugenderera okukola ekintu.
Olw'omukaaga tukulaga ekkubo ettuufu ly'olina okukwata, ekkubo ly'obusiraamu. Gundi tova ku maini ne Sheikh Kasujja Idris.
Omuntu gwe bagamba nti omuntu atuuse ku buwanguzi afaanana atya? Bwe kibeera nti ogamba nti kusoma abaako eddala lye yali aluubirira, kakati eddala eryo singa amala n'alituukako tugamba nti oyo akoze eki? Atuuse ku buwanguzi.
Olwo ku Sande